Hey there and welcome back to The Sims 3. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of this attempt to fully complete The Sims 3 World Adventures. Last time we left off after sending our young adventurer Fabien back to his former home in Champs-les-Sims, France. He completed a short adventure and learned the nectar making skill, and he also found some valuables along the way that we can now sell. We won't get rid of everything though, some of it might be needed for later. One particular thing that Fabien found was this French-themed garden gnome, which we can actually name now. The name picked here comes from a channel member, Throne Conqueror, rather fitting I'd say for a garden gnome resembling Napoleon. Now today will be a stay-at-home episode. Our three young adventurers are all still on travel cooldown, but this gives them an excellent opportunity to work on skills and associated skill challenges, and that brings me straight to Sanat, who we will most likely spend the most time with today. In our last Egypt episode, we started working on photography collections, and after creating a big spreadsheet, I have now marked down the over 200 photos we need to take to complete them all. The gym is just one of many subjects he will take snapshots of today, as we quickly jump back to Fabien, who has not only reached level 4 in the nectar making skill, but we can now also lock in the bottomless nectar seller lifetime wish, and that is exactly what I had in mind for him, so let's confirm it and also promise him to visit France again as soon as possible. Back in the gym meanwhile, Sanat photographs some workout equipment, a couple of strangers for the Two's company photo, and a single stranger completing a sim in the area. After just a few seconds of waiting around, Sanat then actually gets 3 people into the same picture for the three's a crowd everyday moment. There's also a television here that we can take a picture of for the still life collection, and heading into the room next door we can photograph the stereo, the most expensive one in the game, part of the best in class collection. Heading into the downstairs bathroom, we can also take a picture of a toilet, and then after heading back outside, a garden on the opposite side of the street has at least 3 plants in it, good enough to complete a nice garden. After freshening up, it is then time for Sanat to return home. Along the way, he can quickly snap a picture of a car. The school building, meanwhile, would for some reason not register as such. We'll worry about that some other time. For now, we can celebrate as Sanat has improved his photography skill to level 5. The next morning then begins early, with Yooni breaking more boards and William keeping the household clean. We can now also transfer that picture of the Sphinx that Sanat took in Egypt over into William's inventory, as this will allow William to complete a skill opportunity. Yooni then improves her athletic skill to level 3, we want that to reach level 10 at some point as well. For the time being though, we will remain focused on the martial arts skill. William then enters the office building to deliver the picture, while back at home young Fabien begins his day with gardening, a skill that we definitely want him to raise to become the best nectar maker possible. And thanks to his green thumb trait, he improves quickly, although at least for the moment we are mostly planting vegetables that cannot be used in nectar making anyway. The honk of the school bus then also reminds us that Fabien is not a young adult just yet. However, on his quest to become a professional nectar maker, I think his academic pursuits will have to take a back seat. William meanwhile gets paid handsomely for the photo, over 1,000 simoleons, and back at home the skill improvements keep coming in, gardening level 2 for Fabien and martial arts level 7 for Yooni. To make Fabien's life a little easier, we're going to buy a sprinkler, he'll be able to upgrade that later. Yooni then soon completes her wish to work out until fatigued, and William returns to grab the mail, this time containing 8 gold ingots, a further 1,000 simoleons to add to our household funds. Time for our household to grab some food. Fabien is back in the tent reading up on the nectar making skill, while I think William will take over cooking duties for the foreseeable future, just to keep our young adventurers' moods high. Now at this point we're going to do some building, the main reason being the nectar maker machine, which takes up quite a lot of space that we currently do not have. For that reason, we are going to expand our gazebo structure with a second platform, although most of this platform will eventually be occupied by the nectar maker. Here you can see it, the only spot where it fits is right in the middle, and we're going to put the kitchen over there too. I'll be honest though, I'm not entirely convinced by how this looks. Maybe we will eventually shuffle those columns around a bit, just to make that kitchen area look a little nicer. We are also going to move the rest of our stuff out of the front yard, and we're going to add a few very important flowers: sunflowers, white and red roses, and pink hydrangea. Finally, a dresser so that we can change our Sims outfits, as well as a cheap radio, since listening to music boosts our Sims mood. For Sanat, it is then time to take more pictures. Yooni fulfills the requirements of being a housemate. William, meanwhile, is his friend, and the flower pot here qualifies as outdoor stuff. The sunflowers, meanwhile, can be added to the still life collection, as well as the candle on the table, while the furniture is another addition to the Home Sweet Home collection. White and red roses are both important parts of the plants and flowers collection. Obviously, we also could have found these by looking around town, but they weren't too expensive, so this was a bit easier. The sunflower can in fact be photographed again to also be added to that collection, and just like that, Sanat's photography skill improves to level 6. We are far from done though. A fresh plate of hot dogs qualifies as something yummy for the Home Sweet Home collection. Meanwhile, Yooni is back to meditating, fulfilling a wish of hers. Since she is now over 10,000 lifetime happiness points, we're also going to purchase the next lifetime reward, Prepared Traveler, which is actually pretty huge in my opinion, adding 3 whole days to the time that Yooni can stay in foreign locations. Sanat, meanwhile, is back to taking pictures, the hydrangea his next subject, only to be followed by the garden gnome, Throne Conqueror. With that, his photography skill also advances to level 7. Honestly, I have a feeling that progress in this skill might be just a tad bit too quick. Sanat does not even have the photographer's eye trait, and still I have a feeling that he's going to max out the photography skill today, and that's something that is just impossible to do with basically any other skill in the game. As you can see, William is also helping him get there, playing with the sprinkler for the remedy for a hot day everyday moment, and then taking a photo with his mobile phone to be photographed by Sanat, completing photo of the photographer. Yes, some of these photos can be tricky like that, and despite making rapid progress here, we're barely scratching the surface. The solo dancer, then the first photo in the Sims in Motion collection, but William will have to embarrass himself a lot more than that, now rummaging through the neighborhood trash to be photographed dumpster diving. Now smelling absolutely filthy, we can give to him a shower in the can that we purchased a while back, and take a picture while he's using it to complete one of the very few motifs left in the travel collection. Selling a somewhat valuable tanzanite, we can then cross the street again. Several gems, metals, and other valuables have been placed here. We can take pictures of an opal, a gold bar, a space rock, a topaz, and a mercury vial. And just like that, Sanat's photography skill improves to level 8. As you can see, we are still not done. William using the snake basket is another motif for the travel collection, and so is one of the relics I have temporarily placed outside. Interestingly enough, William can actually be photographed twice here. Playing music also qualifies for the Great Tunes motif, and the Sims in Motion collection receives another picture in just a second as William is photographed running. A quick jump over to Fabien then, who isolated in his tent improves his nectar making skill to level 5, while Sanat has traveled into town. Lots of stuff waiting for him here, for example City Hall or the bookstore, and just like that, his photography skill has already reached level 9. Not much longer then until level 10, up next is the bistro, followed by the grocery store, and a group of 4 Sims in one picture for the Group of Sims Everyday moment. A bit further down the street we can then find the town theater, as well as a bench that somehow qualifies for the couch still life. Change of scenery then, a quick visit to the local community garden is next. Here Sanat can take pictures of lettuce, a lime tree, tomato plants, a watermelon vine, a trio of onion plants, an apple tree, a bell pepper plant, and finally a potato vine. Not quite at level 10 just yet, but we're getting there. Next destination, the graveyard. 3 things can be found here. First, the mausoleum, then obviously a tombstone, and finally, quite well hidden around the corner here, a death flower bush. With the evening slowly approaching, Sanat visits the local sports stadium, another motif for the architecture and buildings collection, a collection that also happens to include the general hospital, which is right nearby. Quick jump back home then, but only for a few seconds, as Yooni is just about to Zeniport. She has meditated for long enough for this teleportation ability to now become available, and she's using it to instantly travel halfway across town to appear at the local swimming pool. Here she's going to keep meditating for just about half an hour longer, while Sanat takes a picture of the local diner. And just like that, we have completed the first of 5 photography skill challenges, Architectural Eye, for capturing 10 unique landmarks. Yooni, meanwhile, is just about to finish meditating for 10 hours total, earning her 1,500 lifetime happiness points. And capturing her going for a swim then finally does it. Yes indeed, after starting the episode only at level 4, Sanat has mastered the photography skill in the span of barely 24 hours. Now this may have something to do with the fact that we use the best and most expensive camera. Nonetheless, this level of progress is something you're just not used to seeing from any other skill in the game. Now a snapshot of Yooni working out completes another photograph of the Sims in Motion collection, to be followed by Fabien and William dancing for the Sims dancing motif. And would you look at that, that's the second skill challenge already completed. 75 different subjects have now been captured, increasing the base value of all future photographs. One more photograph then we can take this evening, Yooni breaking boards, another motif for the Sims in Motion collection, even though the perspective here is perhaps not the one I would have picked. Then it's time for some socializing between Sanat and Fabien. The two barely know each other and both of their social needs are almost depleted, so let's help them along. Enthusing about exercise is the way to go here, pondering to Sanat's athletic trait. A short while later then it's time for Sanat to also pick up the Prepared Traveler lifetime reward. I believe the bonus from this reward actually stacks for multiple Sims, so Sanat and Yooni going together would receive a 6-day bonus. Eventually then it's time for the household to go to bed. William is the last one, still cleaning up the dishes and breaking the sink in the process. Well, not to worry, this actually presents a great opportunity for another photograph. Yes, Fabien is probably skilled enough to repair the damage himself, but capturing the repair technician in action gets us one step closer to completing the Everyday Moments collection. On the next morning then, with Yooni and William waking up a tad bit too early thanks to the loud music blasting from the stereo, Sanat captures Fabien gardening, and he's going to do so with a panorama photo, fulfilling a small wish of his. Fabien himself also fulfills his wish to garden, and since he has planted some grapevines from France that have now sprouted, Sanat can capture those as well to add to the Plants and Flowers collection. We can also set up another motif that is otherwise hard to come by, a plate of food paired with an unopened bottle of nectar. So while Fabien makes much more reasonable progress and advances his gardening skill to level 3, Sanat can add the nectar and food photograph to the Still Life collection. Now a few more purchases for a few more photo opportunities, the most expensive nectar rack for 1,200 simoleons, a regular garden gnome, much cheaper, a box of tissues for the bathroom, and a picnic basket that for the time being we can simply place on the porch here. Let's get to it then. The nectar rack is used for the Best in Class collection. Upon capturing it, Sanat also develops the wish to photograph it again, this time in panorama mode. Nothing easier than that, a fair price to pay I think for 575 lifetime happiness points. The picnic basket, then part of the Around Town collection. The box of tissues, a still life motif, same as the garden gnome. Into the nectar rack we can then place all of the bottles of nectar that Fabien has in his inventory. In here they can age and thus appreciate in value, and with this being the most expensive rack, they do so a little faster in there. The school bus then arrives, but once again Fabien will ignore it in favor of his gardening and nectar-making duties, while the mail woman has just arrived, and that means Sanat needs to be quick. She too is part of a photography collection. We will discuss Yooni's first completed skill challenge in just a second, but first let's capture the mail carrier before she runs off, and then we can celebrate Yooni Iroki completing the Timber Terminator challenge. She has successfully broken 150 oak boards. This now improves her chance of discovering valuable gemstones when splitting space rocks, something she can admittedly not do just yet, but upon reaching martial arts skill level 9 that will change. In the meantime, we're going to have Fabien make his first batch of homemade nectar. William also collects a gemstone and the first skill certificate from the mail, awarded to Sanat for reaching level 10 in the photography skill. Speaking of which, he is just about to take another picture here, as Fabien stomping grapes completes the making nectar motif. Sanat himself then does a little workout to improve his athletic skill to level 4. The wish to get pumped is also fulfilled shortly after, while Fabien fires up the nectar maker and William receives an opportunity. Delivering a photograph of the Temple of Abu Simbel, I think we can easily complete that. Conveniently enough, Sanat took one the last time he went to Egypt, so William can head over to the local spa to turn it into cash. Back at home, meanwhile, Yooni once again fulfills her wish to meditate, and I think she will keep doing so for pretty much the rest of the day. Meanwhile, Fabien's next batch of Kudera's Lime Renoir is done, its value higher than 30 simoleons, fulfilling a wish of his. And speaking of fulfilling wishes, the wish to reach level 6 in the nectar making skill is up next, that one worth a further 1000 lifetime happiness points. The nectar bottles then, as you can see, worth exactly 30 simoleons. We will place them in the nectar rack for aging too. If I'm not mistaken, the thing can hold up to 15 bottles. Back to William then, who receives almost 2000 simoleons for turning in the photo, while Sanat's workout has surpassed the 4-hour mark, and that's another wish fulfilled. He will keep going for just a little while longer until he's fatigued, which, as you can see here, is swiftly achieved. After shower and food, it will be back to photography for him though, so we're going to purchase a games console next, another subject in the Still Life collection. And with that, this collection can now actually be fully completed. Any random object not covered by a different category will do, and just like that, the Still Life collection is now the first of 13 photography collections that Sanat can complete, containing well over 200 photos, and there would be even more if we had more expansions installed. Thankfully though, we don't. The video game system is then also sold again immediately, and after cleaning up the dishes from his late lunch, Sanat can call his mother. His social bar is once again asking for a little assistance. William, meanwhile, has made it over to the local library, where he will now be reading up on the cooking skill. Like I said earlier, I think he will be the one to provide for the household for the foreseeable future. We might even turn him into a handiness-focused tinkerer as well, freeing up Fabien to focus exclusively on gardening and nectar making. The latter has now been improved to skill level 7, unlocking the mass produce option, 1 extra bottle of nectar but at reduced quality for the entire batch, with the right ingredients and a high enough skill level, still worth it to make some money. As Sanat then sits down to practice snake charming a bit more, we learn that William has already advanced to level 3 in the cooking skill, and after a quick bathroom break he is now joined in the library by Fabien, who, despite what I said earlier, is going to read up on the handiness skill. I would like him to at least reach level 4 to complete that wish of his. And there we go, about 2 hours later we at least have him at level 3. Back at home meanwhile, Sanat is already the first one to go to bed. Safe to say that the last 2 days have been quite busy for him. After accidentally walking in on Yooni in the bathroom, Fabien experiences his first moment of prime teenage embarrassment. Meanwhile, Mr. Picking improves his cooking skill to level 4 and now wants to buy a stove. Well, I think we have the funds to fulfill that wish, even if it means rearranging the fridge here. Like I said, I'm not entirely happy yet with how all of this looks. If you have any ideas on how to improve the kitchen setup, then please let me know in the comments down below. For today then, William improves to 15,000 lifetime happiness points, but we're going to save up just a little more, I think. So let's wrap up the episode by Fabien once again joining Yooni in her tent, while William goes to sleep next to Sanat. And with that, I think we have reached a good point to make the cuts. Our small adventuring base is growing and improving, and so are our young adventurers. In the next episode then, I think we are going to travel again. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course also go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, become a channel member or a Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.